Relocation cases are some of the hardest that judges have to deal with. At some point, they're gonna have to make a decision about where the child is going to live, here or with the parent that's moving away, wherever they're moving to. And that is really, really hard because what a court wants most, assuming that both parents are fit and proper, is for the child to have access to and substantial time with both of their parents, so that both of their parents can have an impact on the child and the child's life. And when one parent voluntarily moves far away from the child's other parent, they're putting that child directly in the middle, and they're putting that child in a situation where they can't every single day have easy access to both of their parents physically in their life. And so if you're gonna do this, you better be doing it for a good reason. Judges wanna make sure that you are doing it through a reason that is so important that it is counterbalancing that taking away of the child from the other parent or even from you being in their day-to-day lives physically. So what are some of those good reasons? Maybe your job has to move and there are no other jobs here that can replace that. Maybe you have to be with a sick family member somewhere else. Maybe you're a service member and your station got moved far away. There are good reasons why you may have to move. And so I don't want to come so harsh and say you can't ever move, but I want you to consider really, really hard, because I have seen more than one case where the primary parent moves away or is gonna move away, and they are 100% convinced, I've been this child's primary parent the whole time, I can move with the child, no judge is gonna take my child from me, and guess what? The child ends up staying because that's where the child's community and doctors and extended family and friends and everything else is. So think long and hard before you move away and think about these factors, because relocation cases, they're hard on everybody. I have yet to see an easy one. If there is already a custody order in place, then there are certain things that you need to do before you relocate with your child. First, you gotta get permission from the court. And what do I mean by that? I mean, you have a right to travel. You can live wherever you wanna live. But let's just say you have joint legal custody and your child is enrolled in XYZ elementary school. How are you gonna enroll them from XYZ elementary school without the permission of the other parent? How are you gonna enroll them into new elementary school without permission of the other parent? You have joint legal custody. You both have to agree to that. Same thing with the access schedule. Let's say that you are going to be moving 3 hours away and currently your access schedule, the other parent has every single Thursday morning to Monday morning. How is that schedule going to work with you 3 hours away? So you have to modify the access schedule ideally before you move. And depending on what your custody order says and what jurisdiction you're in, you may need to even provide a certain amount of written notice. So if you have to move away, if there is no other option than for you to relocate far away from your child's other parent, then I strongly recommend that you seek their legal advice from a qualified divorce or family law attorney, because they can walk you through what the right steps are based on your specific custody order, your specific separation agreement if you ultimately agreed before, and also based on what the law is in the jurisdiction that you're in of the notice requirements. Hopefully you guys can work it out in mediation, negotiation, or figure it out together. But if not, these court battles are some of the hardest. I know it's really hard, but you can't stop your co-parent from relocating. Your co-parent, absent being on probation, has a constitutional right to travel. And so if they're gonna move, they're gonna move. But here's the thing, they don't necessarily get to take your child with them, because you have a custody order. And if they're gonna move far enough away that your custody order cannot be implemented, you have the right to ask the court to modify it. And part of modifying it may mean switching custody to you. It also may not. So you gotta really consider all the different possibilities. But here's the thing, as long as you have that access time granted to you, you have a right to have that time with your child. And same thing, if you have joint legal custody, you have to be consulted and agreeing on decisions such as moving your child out of a specific school or changing your child's pediatrician or changing your child's dentist. And so if you have that joint legal custody and if you have that parenting schedule and the move prevents you from exercising that specific access time and exercising that specific decision-making, then you might want to seek out the help of a court, because your co-parent can't just take away your parental rights, but they can move. So then what happens? The court decides. court is going to always want to do everything they can to preserve the child or children's relationship with both parents. That is a paramount. A judge I know used to say all the time, your child is half that other parent. So when you say something bad about that parent or you try to take the child away from that parent, you are taking away half of your child or you are criticizing half of your child. And that's really, really hard. The reason for the relocation is a factor that the court considers. So it better be a really good reason to take your child out of the physical proximity of their other parent. And by the way, there might be some really good reasons for that. There are some really good reasons for that. But make sure that the reason that you are moving fits that criteria and looks at it through that lens, because a court is going to look at it through that lens. If one parent is relocating, the court then has to consider the best interest of the child. I want to be super clear. For all you parents who are considering relocation, you may not get to take the child with you. I have said this again and again. I have had parents move, even 50 minutes away from Maryland to Virginia. I have had parents move away from Maryland to York, Pennsylvania. It doesn't necessarily matter the geographic distance. What matters is the ability, based on traffic and everything else, of both parents being able to be involved in the child's day-to-day life. And let me tell you, in both of those relocations, the child never left Maryland. But just because you have been the primary parent doesn't guarantee that you will be able to take your child with you. The court considers the parent who is being left behind and their relationship with the child too. The court is also going to look at the child's relationship within the community. Where are their doctors, their teachers, their school, their friends, their church, all of those different things. And that is going to weigh heavily on potentially the child staying here. So be careful if you're considering relocation. And if the court does decide to let you take the child with you, there's still other things that you're going to have to consider. I've seen courts allow the child to move. One time, I believe it was to Chicago. And guess who had to pay for all the travel of the other parent to come visit the child there? And also the child to go back to visit the other parent, the one who moved away. Courts can fashion a bunch of different remedies because their goal is always going to be to make sure the child gets to be as involved with both of their parents, assuming their parents are fit, healthy, and proper, as possible. Relocation cases are hard, and the courts aren't necessarily going to be looking out for the relocating parent or the left behind parent. They're going to be looking out for the child or children, and they're going to have to decide what's in their best interest. And unfortunately, they may not agree with you that moving is in their best interest, and they may not agree with you that moving is not in their best interest.